So last week, DC Comic Books came out with a brand new Swamp Thing series. But you might be wondering, is it indeed worth your time and money to read this comic book? Well, let's find out. So with short views, I want to keep it as simple and spoiler-free as possible. So I'm going to break it down in 3 categories. And the first one up is characterization and plot. I'm not going to pretend that I'm some massive Swamp Thing fan, but I also come into this comic book with a little bit of knowledge. I've read a good portion of the Alan Moore run. I've read random issues here or there of different things like Len Wein and whatnot. And of course, I've seen the cartoon and the TV show. Well, the OG 90s TV show Represent, right? Anyway, what surprised me about this comic book was it managed to get things to a point where it surprised me where it was going. Ram V is basically playing in the same sandbox that everyone else was before, but he's building the sandcastle a lot differently, and I gotta really respect the way he's doing it. He put a lot of the seeds of what he wants to do with the character in the Future State comic books that he wrote right before this series started, and I think those are a good way to start if you are interested in this run, but they're not a necessity. This is a great jumping on issue, and Ram V nails it by giving us an idea of what this new version of Swamp Thing, if you will, is headed. So I would give this a 4 out of 5 for characterization and plot. Next up is art, storytelling, and layouts. And that is done by Michael Perkins. Now, Michael Perkins has a very, in my opinion, crime noir kind of feel to his storytelling and layouts. And I think that serves the character of Swamp Thing because you don't go for this overtly monstrous aesthetic that I think that is very easy to fall into when you're doing a monster book like Swamp Thing. Instead, it feels like that Michael Perkins is focusing on atmosphere instead of just these monsters and things like that. He's emphasizing the nature around the characters and giving us a real moodiness to every single panel that he draws, and I think it's great. I have to say I'm going to give the art a 4 out of 5. And lastly, it is the fine details, and that is the lettering, the inking, the coloring, and this is all very, very solid stuff. I would give this an easy 3 out of 5. Now, if you're wondering why those are all lumped together and I gave it a 3 out of 5, well, here's the thing. Nothing jumps out at me as being predominantly amazing necessarily, but it doesn't distract me from the book either, and that's the job of those 3 things: the lettering, the coloring, the inking. They really have to basically not be as dominant for when you're reading it, and if it is, sometimes that could be a bad thing. But either way, this book is a very, very good book, and it's evident in the average that I'm about to drop on it. So the average for this Swamp Thing comic book is going to be 3.6 out of 5, and honestly, that's a great score, and I can't recommend this first issue enough. I think if you're looking for a great jumping on point to get to know this character, ground floor, this is it. So thank you for watching this first episode of Short Views. Please hit the like button and subscribe so I can get into that sweet YouTube algorithm. And again, thank you for everyone for subscribing to the channel this past weekend. You guys all mean a lot to me, and I will see you next time.